Hi there, welcome to the Style Sessions. I'm Roger Mittag. I'm the founder of Prud'homme Beer Certification and the president of Thirst for Knowledge. We are all about beer education, and we've had a great time running these YouTube sessions for you and what we call our Style Sessions. And it's basically a look at more traditional beer styles. I'm a big fan of tradition, I'm a big fan of history, and today we're going to feature a really interesting style that we normally see done by Belgian Trappist monasteries. Now, it's not limited to Belgian Trappist monasteries, but that's really where it took its first beginnings and its first footholds. So we see a lot of different brewers in Belgium making this particular style. They don't necessarily have to be associated with any particular religious community, but that's where they actually started. So today we're going to look at a Belgian Dubbel. And today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history first, and then we're going to pour it and get into the characteristics of the beer itself. So there's a lot of misconceptions about these styles, and some people believe that they are firmly rooted in medieval history. And when we look at the styles, we have to look at all of them. So in Belgium, you often see things called singles, which might be known as blondes or enkels or potter's beers. Then you move to doubles, and then you move to triples, and you move to quadruples. And along the way, each of those styles of beers goes up in alcohol. Now, there are some people that believe that it's double the strength, triple the strength, and quadruple the strength. But that doesn't make any sense because it isn't double, triple, and quadruple. It simply goes up marginally all the way. There are other people who believe that these styles have taken their names from the fact that at one point when we were illiterate, people were marking casks with 1x, 2x, 3x, and 4x. Now, nice concept, but it doesn't make any sense either when you hear how this actually started. So in 1856, the Westmalle Monastery released its first strong dark ale, and they named it a Dubbel. So we know that Dubbels are associated with dark ales. So this is Westmalle Trappist Dubbel that we're actually going to look at. It is 7% alcohol by volume. And it is associated with monasteries, or what we call monastic brewing. And since it's associated with monasteries and monastic brewing, we want a glass that would help with that whole concept. And so we typically look to take a goblet or a chalice. Now, obviously they're called a chalice because of the religious history and significance behind it, but you can call it a goblet, whatever you like. But there are some significant ones. I've got probably 5 or 6 different shapes of glasses. I've chosen this one because I think it's going to be very reflective of what I want to get out of this particular beer. And I'm going to show you a distinctive way of pouring it, which you can also see on our YouTube channel. There's different ways of pouring these Belgian beers. So next week, I'm going to show you the very traditional way of pouring a Belgian Trappist beer. And that is the way the Belgians want to do it. Today, I'm going to do it slightly differently. So we're going to open this beer and pour it in. Now, the interesting thing about beers like this at 7% alcohol by volume is that we want a bigger glass because we want to open the bouquet and the palate up of the glass, and I need you to warm it up. So I'm going to ask you to wrap your hands around this glass and love it and caress it, because as it gets warmer, it's going to really open up its aromatics. So with a glass like this, I don't necessarily need to tilt it on a 45-degree angle to pour it, so I can go very slowly and pour right into the dead center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour slowly. I'm going to watch very gently as the foam starts to build. And you'll notice I'm not really taking my eyes off of the pour because I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to get everything that I want into this particular glass. Now I'm going to go a bit quicker. And I'm near the end. I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to take the bottle and I'm going to swirl it around like this. And what that does is that brings off all the yeast from the secondary fermentation off the floor of the glass, brings it up into the rest of the body of the beer, and then I'm going to add it completely to my beer so that I get every last drop of that scrumptious yeast in there in the sediment. And there we have it. There we have a really nice pour on a Dubbel. I got nice foam. Dubbels are typically reddish brown and more on the brown side than the reddish side. They're typically cloudy. You're going to see colors like caramel and mahogany, chestnut notes in there. The foam is always more of a cappuccino crema, so it's a little bit lighter than mocha on that side. They're pretty frothy. High alcohol beers, the foam tends to dissipate rather quickly, so you should be aware of that. And then we're going to go in and we're going to smell this beer. And I absolutely love Belgian Dubbels because they're extremely complex and they're really satisfying and gentle. And if you take your time with them, they really open up for you. But you get lots of dark fruit on this. You get things like caramel and fruitcake and raisins, dates, figs. Might get a little bit of prunes in there. Sometimes there's a little bit of baking spice like nutmeg. Sometimes you'll pick up cloves. Baked bananas, a big one in this as well, because bananas are a big characteristic of Belgian yeast strains. A little bit of licorice, some almond. They're really, really complex beers. Tasting notes can go on and on and on. It's got a moderate finish, so it takes a little bit of time to empty out of your mouth. And then it's got a moderate to long aftertaste. And with the aftertaste, we start to get a little bit more bitterness, a little bit of that licorice note that was in there to begin with. You might get a little bit of booziness in there and a little bit of warmth coming down your throat and into your chest. Almost like a rum cake. And if you can think about dark fruit cakes that we have during the holiday season, it's exactly what this beer really tastes like. Wonderful beers to have with game. They're great to have with dessert. They're great to have just on their own. Just sip, savor, enjoy life. But I am a massive fan of Trappist beers, and there are only 10 Trappist monasteries in the world that are producing beer under this particular designation. It is protected. And there's some great ones out there, and I really encourage you to go out, spend some time, explore the world of Trappist beers, and I think that you'll find them really soothing and comforting, and just a real pleasure to explore. Yeah, they just keep opening up more and more and more. So next week, we're going to take a look at the next step, and that would be Belgian triples. And Belgian triples are blonde in color. So singles are blonde, triples are blonde, doubles are brown, and quadruples are brownish red, probably more on the red side. So hope you'll join us next week, and we're going to take a journey back into Belgium and take a look at Belgian triples next week. So cheers, prost, santé.